Hello everyone, welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar. I see people still joining, so let's give some time and then we can start. So I think we can start. Hello again, and thank you for joining the webinar today. I am Anthi, Marketing Specialist at Pix4D, and will be moderating today's webinar. So today we have our speakers, Julius Petri and Nathan Stein. They are going to talk about how to successfully plan your spray drone flight with Pix4D Fields. The webinar will be 1 hour long, including a 15-minute Q&A session. So during the presentations, you can already put your questions in the Q&A section that you see on the toolbar below. And this will give us an idea of what questions you would like to be answered and which not. You can also use the app voting feature to vote for questions that you already see in the Q&A section and that you would like them to be answered. And yeah, I think we can already jump into the presentation of our speakers.
Hello everyone, it's great to see that so many people have joined our webinar today. My name is Julius Petri and I am the head of product for Pix4D Fields, Pix4D's solution for agricultural users. I am happy to have Nathan Stein with me, a former colleague, farmer and managing partner at Pegasus Robotics. For those of you who are new, I will start with a general introduction to what Pix4D Fields is and how it can benefit you. I will conclude with my part with a spotlight on the newest feature of our latest release, Pix4D Fields 2.6. Nathan will share his hands-on experience with distributing, operating and maintaining a large fleet of XAG spray drones at Pegasus Robotics, and how Pix4D Fields helps him achieve higher operational safety and efficiency for his customers. Finally, we will answer any questions in our Q&A session. Pix4D Fields is a fast and easy-to-use mapping solution designed for farmers, growers, adjusters, and service providers. It provides practical insights and deliverables such as crop health, precise field boundaries, prescription maps, and shareable field reports. Let's look at the core workflow of Pix4D Fields to understand how it all works. Initially, we conduct our drone mapping flight for data acquisition, where the drone autonomously maps the area based on the rough outlines of a field we have defined. Afterwards, we retrieve the data and transfer the imagery from the drone to Pix4D Fields for processing. This happens offline and within minutes, no upload or internet connection required. Finally, we utilize various analytical tools provided by Pix4D Fields to create crop health and scouting reports, define boundaries, or generate prescription maps for precision application. We examined the processing times using one of the most common drones, the DJI Mavic 3 multispectral with Pix4D fields. You can obtain a high-resolution, precisely geolocated RGB map in under 2 minutes, or a multispectral map in under 10 minutes. Beyond drone image processing, we also provide easy access to both recent and historic Sentinel satellite maps. This feature allows for anomaly detection, the creation of prescription maps, or simply to monitor your crops, all at the click of a button. But Pix4D Fields is more than just maps. We aim to deliver practical resources for everyday operations, which is why we developed tools to support core workflows, including mapping of field boundaries and obstacles, variable rate applications based on crop health maps, weed detection for precise spot spraying, and, of course, user-friendly field reports and exports. Field boundaries and obstacles with precise location form the foundation for many precision farming applications, such as auto-steering or section control. However, they are even more crucial for aerial applications with spray drones. Pix4D Fields assists you in digitizing your boundaries with RTK precision, supporting industry-standard formats. Measuring boundaries via drone is not only more efficient, but also does not impact the field, and it can be conducted even when the field is wet. Crop health analyzers and variable rate applications constitute another crucial cornerstone of modern agricultural operations. Pix4D Fields can generate crop health maps based on RGB, multispectral, and satellite data, offering holistic insights and enabling early anomaly detection. Crop health maps can be seamlessly converted into machine-readable prescription maps for site-specific farming or zone-based scouting instructions using the zonation tool. This approach can increase yield and grain quality by up to 5% and result in input savings of up to 15%, while also enhancing harvesting efficiency. The selective targeting of weeds with precise spot spraying is a major cost-saving tool for modern farming. Pix4D Fields features an intuitive workflow with the Magic tool, enabling the detection of weed nests and crop damage on a large scale with just a few clicks. All of these operations are offline, fast, and of course without additional costs. Pix4D Fields also ensures those detections are converted into formats compatible with your agricultural equipment. It provides detailed information about the area to be treated, the amount of input needed, and potential savings. With spot spraying, input savings of 50 to even 90% are possible. We call this targeted operations. Here you can swiftly convert high-resolution aerial inputs into operational layers that include boundaries, application areas, and prescription rates. We also make sure that the operational layer is transformed into the correct formats compatible with spray drones, tractors, and self-propelled sprayers, all without the need for additional software. To quickly communicate your results, we offer user-friendly reports and exports. Our PDF report can be customized with your company's logo and information. It effectively replicates a full Pix4D Fields project in a print-ready format, including map overviews, annotations, measurements, and of course prescription maps. Sharing an interactive map via a web link is also made possible through the Pix4D Cloud integration, allowing you to quickly deliver results to your clients without the need for extra software. With the John Deere Operations Center integration, you can swiftly transfer field boundaries, prescriptions, and even aerial and crop health maps directly to your John Deere system. Say goodbye to the need for thumb drives. Our software also offers a wide range of industry-standard export formats, ensuring compatibility with GIS applications. Despite its many features and applications, Pix4D Fields remains user-friendly, boasting a gentle learning curve. It is a perfect tool if you are looking to enhance operational efficiency, save on costs and time through precision farming. Before I hand it over to Nathan, I want to share some exciting details about the new features of Pix4D Fields 2.6, which we have just released. 2.6 introduces a suite of improvements to the targeted operations workflow. Now you have the ability to adjust the minimum and maximum values of the index histogram while in comparison mode. This enhancement is particularly useful for isolating specific areas, such as excluding soil from green and brown spot spraying maps. With the introduction of live cell selection in Pix4D Fields 2.6, you now have the ability to exclude cells from the zonation based on the number of visible pixels per cell. This feature is useful for targeting only reads of a certain size or larger. The selected zonation settings are now instantly applied, making their effects easier to understand. This results in quicker and more meaningful zonation outcomes. Users with expert knowledge can now manually override the zone distribution using custom zone intervals. We have also added a new export format specifically for Amazoni sprayers, tailored for large area spot spraying. The latest update also includes new cameras, such as the DJI Mini 4 Pro, while also enhancing both processing quality and speed. For a comprehensive overview of all updates, please refer to the full changelog on our support page. And now, I would like to hand it over to Nathan Stein from Pegasus Robotics.
Hey there, everyone. I'm going to present today on how to successfully plan your agriculture spray drone flight using Pix4D Fields. And I've got quite a few different slides, so I'm going to go ahead and walk through them fairly quickly here and some different videos. Just a quick rundown of what we're going to talk about. I have my introduction here at the beginning. Then we're going to go through how to map and spray, kind of a step-by-step process, the cost versus benefits of using spray drones or using mapping for spray drones, some real life examples, videos and other things like that, and then a quick summary. So who am I? My name is Nathan Stein. I am a co-owner of Pegasus Robotics and a farmer as well. And if you don't know me, I've been in the drone industry for about 10 years. I've worked for SenseFly and Parrot, Pix4D, done a lot of different types of workflows, drone to tractor, drone to drone, and a lot of different testing and a lot of different work throughout the industry. So I hope I've met you at some point. I'm also a farmer of corn and soybeans here in north central Iowa. And not many of you probably know, but I do have also a large family, 7 kids, pretty proud father of them, take care of them here, as well as this journey that I've started with Pegasus Robotics with Arthur and Davin. We started that a couple of years ago, and it's been a pretty busy ride since then. Who's Pegasus Robotics? Our vision is kind of to empower the next generation of farmers with innovative agriculture solutions, not just a drone, not just a software, but a solution at the end of the day. And our mission is really driven by the fact that we are farmers, and we really want to dedicate ourselves to enhancing that productivity on the farm, the crop yields. It just really offer these strong solutions to our customers, along with the training and support that's required. So quickly here, we're going to go through how to map and fly, or fly and spray. That just means we're going to plan and execute a mapping mission. We're going to create those boundaries and obstacles and no spray zones in fields. And then we're going to export it. I'm going to show how to export to XAG1 for a P100 Pro, and then plan and execute that spray mission. So quickly, I'm going to go through a video here. This is a tutorial that I've done, and maybe some of you have seen, but I'm going to just explain it real quickly here. I'm using a DJI Mavic 3 multispectral, and I'm just planning the flight out here real quickly. Setting the course and direction of the flight, I normally fly a little bit bigger than the area that I'm actually trying to map, or I map a little bit wider than what the actual map is, just to get the edges and make sure I capture it. Sometimes you never know when you go to somebody's field to fly, if they've changed something, if the area is a little bit bigger than what you think. Sometimes farmers' descriptions or other people's descriptions of that farm are very vague. So it's really good to fly a little bit larger than what it is, especially if the satellite imagery is out of date. Do a 70%, 65 to 70% side lap and 80% front lap. You can see it flying here. The mission, it's just totally automatic. You just hit start and then it flies the mission and comes back. I know a lot of people are surprised that you can even do this today. A lot of farmers are pretty excited when they see this thing just automatically fly and land and capture all those photos while you're having a casual conversation. From here, we're just going to take that SD card out of the back of the drone and put it in the computer you can see here. And with Pix4D Field started, I just import that imagery. And you can get that. You're going to use the RGB imagery. Again, I flew that mission in RTK. I didn't explain that, but we flew it in RTK, so it's going to process in RTK. And I'm going to use the fast processing option. So without internet, you can go ahead and process this at the edge of the field. This only took me just a few minutes for this field. That was really quick. And from here on out, we're going to make boundaries. Again, I'm doing this pretty quick, but I'm just kind of explaining how this goes. Now you're going to draw your boundaries, and you can see how those trees actually don't coincide with the actual planting boundaries. So if somebody tries to tell you to use a planter boundary file, that's not going to exactly work because those trees do overhang the field. Once you're done with that, you're going to want to map out your obstacles. I tend to like to make the trees obstacles just in case they, just to give the drone no options to fly out there. Of course, all your power lines, any other thing you want to map in that obstacle layer. And now I'm going to add a hole to the boundary. This is going to be used for a no spray zone. This is an area, and I'm just showing an example here, like maybe this could be a waterway or a buffer zone or something, but you can create that. And that's going to give you the area that you're going to be able to fly over, but you can actually, it's not going to spray. So right now I'm creating an operation. And in order to do this, you kind of set your grid. You select, what your boundary and obstacles are. And I set it to the width of the sprayer itself, typically for the size of the grid. I'm going to put in a rate, just a flat rate, 2 gallons per acre. Now I'm exporting it to XAG. And I'm exporting the holes as no spray areas. This is going to export it as a KML file. And then now I'm ready to go ahead and take this into my XAG1 app, which I use an FMS portal here. This is just kind of a quick login. You can see how I'm going to log into my user account, and I just wirelessly transfer. Now you do need internet for this, just a very little bit. It's not a big file. You just select your file and then upload it. It's going to ask you if you want to import this into the XAG1 app, and you just say yes. And now you can see it loaded the obstacles, no spray zones and boundary, and you're basically ready to go ahead and start planning your flight. Now to set up the drone, you can see here, I've obviously sped this up a bit, but I'm just locking the arms and getting the vehicle ready for application, putting the spray nozzles down in configuration, and then doing a quick flight check. I'm going to throw some batteries in here. Once the batteries are on and it's powered up, it's going to be able to get its RTK signal. That's through the remote. Now I'm loading some water up, and I'm going to walk through real quickly how to set this mission up. So I'm logging into my XAG1 app. You're going to see the boundaries appear now all of a sudden. And you can see the no spray zones. You can see the obstacle areas. I'm connecting to the RTK signal. So now my drone is locked on. I'm setting up my spray width and spray volume. So I'm doing 2 gallons to the acre with a 90 micron droplet size. I'm setting my boundary safety distance. So this is how far you are away from your boundary, which is pretty close there. And then I'm also doing obstacle safety distance. You can see even in the picture, you know, the no spray zone that I'm flying through on the screen. I'm enabling the boundary application. So at the end, it's going to go around and spray the boundary when I'm done. And going ahead and just double checking to see what this looks like, make sure that everything checks out, looks good. And my approaching route is the last thing. That's how I get from where I am to the boundary. So I set the height and the speed, and it flies up and over and then into the boundary and down, and then starts its mission. So with all those settings set, you're ready to go ahead and fly your mission. This is a pretty quick picture, but you can see how I'm going to go ahead and launch the drone. I've done my safety checks. The drone's going to take off, and it's going to go ahead and start flying its mission. So now it's going to its approaching route. It flies in. Now it's in the field and applying, and it's just going to show a couple quick videos here of what this looks like and how close to the boundary we get. You can see we get really close right into those trees right there, just barely touching them. And again, here's another shot, really close. But with these boundaries, you really can get pretty close. I mean, I don't encourage getting, you know, too close, but the point here is that when you map and you spray, you can get every acre just about applied. You can see how it's just going in between the trees here. This is very good. This is a very good coverage, and it's doing a great job getting in between there, and it's going around real quickly and executing its mission. So now it's going to go around its obstacle here. You'll watch it go skirt around the trees. It's not going to fly through the edge of that. It won't violate that obstacle. Now it's spraying along these trees and really kind of dodging in and out of these areas. You can see it picked up that branch right there. So it's kind of coming in, and its obstacle avoidance still does work. But you know, the boundaries just add a lot more confidence to that application. So that's the end of that flight, and that's basically the process of how to, you know, quickly map the field, turn the boundaries, and execute that flight. So moving on, I just want to cover the cost of, you know, what this would look like if you were to buy this today. Like a DJI Mavic M3M with RTK and a care package is $4,618. Your yearly subscription for Pix4D Fields is $1,650. You know, like a typical training that we offer is $1,500. So in total, you're talking $7,768 US for the total cost of this package. It's pretty reasonable cost, and I'll show you a breakdown of kind of why this makes sense. So what are some of the benefits of these maps, and how much do they cost? You know, looking at this, you can see that the actual cost of the Mavic 3 in the fields versus the actual spray drone kit itself, you know, a whole spray drone kit, is only 19% of the value. So it's only going to cost you basically 20% of that value to get that drone in training, and it's going to protect the value of that entire that whole entire investment that you've made in the spray drone. I pulled some different things here. I think this is really interesting. This is the average drone repair bill that we've seen. These are just different crashes that I pulled out of our files and stuff. And this is for the P100 Pro. And it's very low cost to repair a lot of the times, but every once in a while you get a whole vehicle loss, right? You know, or something like that. So on average, just from these that I pulled, it was about $5,263. I mean, if you took this one crash out of here, where they caught a power line, you're gonna basically be down in the, probably an average of $2,000 or someplace $3,000. So it's pretty inexpensive to repair, but still it's expensive. And it's downtime. That's what's most important to realize, is that, our repair is fairly quick. Even in our shop, we have, a lot of it's under 20-hour average. But, you could be out at 1 day to 48 hour, or, 1 hour to 24 hours, basically. I mean, if you just break the blades, you're just going to replace those in the field. Sometimes it takes a lot longer, and even in a warranty claim process, it's going to take even longer, because you still have to wait for the warranty analysis to come back and that kind of stuff. So, it's possible that you could cost yourself several days. And, if you're applying, you can achieve 500 acres a day at 2-gallon rate. And if you're getting $14 per acre, that's $7,000 a day that you're losing in revenue, especially in prime season. And that's what you're trying to do this for. So, this adds up really quickly. And this is basically the price of that Mavic 3 multispectral and the Pix 4D fields. So you can see that if you just lose 1 day, you've already basically paid for that package. So, moving on to practical advice here, I just really want to emphasize, you should never trust just an RTK planter boundaries, as you've seen from the video and the boundaries themselves. Planter boundaries are actually kind of dangerous, and RTK four-wheeler boundaries are no different. They may have driven them, but they probably drove under trees. They didn't realize that, the obstacle for a planter is different than an obstacle for a drone. And those trees overhang, they change things. It's just best to capture a shot right when it is. And that, I've heard from the industry, anybody in robotics always says, never trust anything else but the ones you make yourself. So I'd encourage making your own boundaries, flying the field. It's only a few minute investment. It's got too much risk for the reward. The satellite imagery can also be off by 1 to 2 meters in any direction. If you couple that with GPS errors and other things, if you're not using RTK, you could be off, 2 to 3 meters in any directions, which could put you in the side of a tree. So in order to actually compensate for that, a lot of people just pull their boundaries in a lot. So they're not really actually spraying the whole entire field. And oftentimes from satellite imagery, you're not going to actually see any of the power lines, which is something I'll show you here in a minute. It happens quite often, actually. I also want to remind you, spray drones are not small investments. They're fairly big, and you got a lot of stuff weighing on them, and their running is critical. So this planning is a critical step. It helps also even in your logistics of how you conduct your operations. So I keep that in mind. Boundaries and obstacles do change. Trees get removed, trees grow. Waterways are made, waterways are removed, terraces, same thing. People add power lines. I had one situation last year where they put in a whole brand new set of power lines that were never on the maps. So that's, this is always changing all the time. So don't take it for granted. You may think that field stayed the same. The location of that field stayed the same, but not the boundaries. So big message here is just invest a few minutes and save a lot of money at the end of the day. This isn't a huge investment for what you're actually trying to accomplish. What are some of your cost savings? Less downtime. Again, we showed that $7,000 a day possible. I mean, $6,000, let's say $5,000, whatever. $5,000 a day goes a long ways to paying off your drone, paying off all the stuff. So having that downtime is really going to save you a lot of money. You could miss spraying opportunities. That's going to cost you a lot, like we just said. The liability insurance, we didn't even touch this, but if you keep wrecking your drone, if you keep crashing it, what do you think your insurance rates are going to be like, your premiums, and also everybody else is in the industry? If drones keep crashing or keep having issues and we don't have a more certain operation, liability insurance is going to go up. So the better we do at executing this and ensuring that our vehicles are doing safe operations and execute every time the way they're supposed to, is actually going to bring our premiums down, I have a feeling, and it's actually could even be a requirement in the future to getting a better insurance rate. So even besides just the maps that we use for the boundaries, we can create a lot of other derivative products from Pix4D fields. So it's not just the value of the actual drone, getting a mapping drone and Pix4D fields. What I found is that, you know, you can create a lot of other products from just having that drone, not even the spray drone itself. So I'll talk about that as well here in a minute. And we could even consider some of these other operations that can come out of here. Can we get beyond visual line of sight or night ops with our spray drones? If we do a great job planning, you know, planning ahead of time, having that map, having that plan gives us certainty in our execution and our safety of flight. So can that be used to enhance the safety of the vehicle, and can that help aid in our exemptions from, you know, FAA here in the U.S.? And even other countries as well. I don't know all the regulations for all other countries, but I'm just speaking from my experience. So moving on to some real life examples here, I just want to show you just a couple pictures of what actually happens in the case where we don't have this type of protection. You know, if you don't, you know, here's an example of what a drone looks like after it catches a oil rig mast here. You can see in the background, pretty rough. This is total loss on this one. This was just a quick forgot to mark the obstacle and had the avoidance turned off. So that was a total loss of that vehicle, unfortunately. You know, here's an example, actually kind of lucky. Power line got snagged. It was flying a little bit close using satellite boundaries. Not enough margin between the line and it just kind of hooked its spray nozzle right there on that bottom line you can see, which is the ground line, which is safe, but still this is a bad situation. Had to get the power crews out there to get it out. Again, loss of time. Here's a power line, total loss. They used satellite boundaries, just trained them on actually Pix4D fields, but they just decided not to do it. And you can see it's just got the arm left there and it's on fire. They sent that to us. Anyways, it was back corner of the field. Didn't know those lines existed back there. It's just a good example of, you know, what happens if you just don't fly. I know it only takes a few minutes and it's an inconvenience, but the risk is pretty high on these accidents. Now I'm going to quickly go through just a couple videos here to highlight what it looks like when you do a good job mapping your fields. This is spreading rye on top of standing corn, of course, and you can see how quickly and easily and cleanly it turns right along these boundaries, and no incidents whatsoever. You can have the confidence of flying. These drones are really automated. You don't even you never use the controllers, the remote controllers. You just basically program the flight in and you hit go, and the drone just executes your mission. I never really want to actually sit there and use my controller. There's no reason to use your controller. That's why you buy these types of devices. So as you can see, this is really, really automated, and you can get a lot of acres covered when it's like this, but you got to do your homework first. Here's a pasture example. I mapped this with RTK as well. You can see it. I ran it a little bit slower in this, but you can see how it goes right up to the field boundary right there. And it's going to fly right along these tree lines here, which are obstacles, and it's going to apply this back portion. It's not super zoomed in, but you can really see how close it gets to those trees. And the terrain is really uneven there, and it just follows that terrain really nice and does a great job with the P100 Pro. And it's going to fly right along that tree line here and just keep executing. No issues whatsoever. And this is really tight space. I was actually kind of afraid. This was one of my own, and it just did a really great job. You just got to kind of trust your map and trust the drone to make its decisions. You can even see here in this next shot, as it flies right up to an obstacle that I had made right here, flies right up to that obstacle, stops, and it's going to go right around that obstacle. So did a really great job without any issues, covered the pasture. no problems. Finally, here's another great example of it flying around a tree. This is doing a border application of a product, and you can see how it just kind of goes right along here, and it's really kind of fun to see just how tight this thing gets right into the corner here. So now it's going to come right in. We're going to fly right up around these trees, and it didn't like that tree there. It kind of saw it as an obstacle too, so it's kind of navigating and skirting around it. So I made this boundary probably too tight. I think maybe next time you can see that overhanging branch there, and there's a really big one that's hanging over. So it did stop for that one, which is good, and it's going around it. You know, obstacle avoidance is a great tool. This thing is totally automated. I'm not doing anything, touching the sticks or anything. This thing's flying all by itself. So it's really cool to see how it can navigate and go around these boundaries as well as it does. But you know, when you're flying full speed and you have power lines and other things, drones can only go so, you know, they can only capture those obstacles so fast. So I always tell everyone, you know, it's pretty cheap insurance to do that type of a flight. Grab that map and you always have it. Look at how nice it does right here as it flies right along that waterway as well. So again, the boundaries really enable you to get this type of data and create these kinds of missions. So to summarize, you know, it only takes about 15 to 30 minutes to map a 160-acre field. And this is without the internet at the edge of the field. This is something you can just do with a laptop right there. A lot of people do it. As you're setting up your other drone, you can go ahead and map this field. And by the time you have that other drone set up and ready to go with chemical in it, you've already got a map done and transferred to the drone. So that's how we operate in the field. Works very easily and very quickly. Doesn't create any extra downtime for us. It's just a matter of coordinating your team to do that. Just again, to drive the point, you know, one spray drone crash could cost as much or more than the cost of the mapping drone bundle and the downtime. I mean, you're looking at a total of almost $12,000 on average with a day down and the repair costs on top of it. So that's a pretty big risk, and the cost of the actual solution is far below that. And last, I just want you to consider, you know, some of the other benefits of Pix4D Fields, which I didn't even touch on, but you know, you can scout with this. You can use it to send, you know, you can share it through the Pix4D cloud system so that you can go do the scouting. You can create your own custom PDF reports, which you can also use for billing for your customers. You can create variable rate application maps for your, not only drones, but also tractors. And probably one of my favorites right now is the ability to share to John Deere Ops Center. So I can have that map in the background, compare it to my harvest files, use it for scouting and other things. I can send my boundaries, all sorts of stuff. And then I could share, like I said, through Pix4D Cloud. You can send it to your customer to validate your application areas, other things, questions about boundaries. Nothing is better than actually visualizing that image. So it's easy to communicate with you and your customer if you have something to look at and to talk about together. So that image is actually very powerful. And last but not least, the Magic tool is an awesome tool. The ability to pick out weeds, situations, other deficiencies in crop, other things like that, in combination to just the index tools, you know, creates a very powerful agronomic solution that you can, you know, go in and treat specific acres, you know, really change the course of your crop in just a matter of, you know, weeks, rather than waiting a whole nother season. So, you know, the ability of Pix4D Fields is very clear to me. The solution that we're presenting here today, and hopefully you can see the value of all these things, and you can probably see how it would fit in your operation as well. So here, to conclude, you know, here's my phone number, our website, and my email. If you scan the QR code, this is a lot more information about Pegasus Robotics. It gives you our socials. Please sign up for those socials. We post a lot of educational content, a lot of different things out there, and I like to, keep people talking. We also have some different groups on Facebook and other things, and some other groups that we're trying to create around agronomy. So I'd love to talk and keep this conversation going. So reach out to us there on the social media, as well as, feel free to reach out to us if you have any other inquiries about our products here in the US and Canada, or if you're just curious about a few different thoughts about what I presented today. So other than that, I'm very thankful for your time and look forward to hearing your questions.
Well, thank you very much, Nathan. That was some super valuable hands-on experience for spray-down operations. And I can see we already have a lot of questions, but before we go to the user questions, I actually have a question to you, Nathan. I saw you have some kind of promotional offer ongoing for Pix 40 Fields. Is that right?
Yeah, so I won't go into the details for that, but I just want to encourage everybody that has signed up for the webinar here today. We will be following up with an email right after this shortly with the recording. And for those in the US and Canada, we'll have a special offer for them that'll be involved with the Mavic 3 and the Pix 4D software, and even possibly spray drone opportunities as well. So stay tuned for that. I won't go into the details though for that. I'll just wanted to put a bug in everybody's ear on that, to pay attention for that email when it does come out. So make sure that you're paying attention to your inbox when that comes in.
Perfect. Great. Okay, let's get started and answer some questions. To everybody, just look at the bottom of your screen. There's a QR menu. So if you're not aware of that, so if you want to chime in, hit that QR menu. You can also upvote questions you really want to be answered. And I will now pick the first question, and that is a question for Nathan. It's actually a really interesting one from Jamie. Does the wind created by the UAV have a big impact on where the pesticides are landing? How accurate can we spray, taking that into account? Nathan, what do you say?
Yeah, so first, spray quality and making sure that you get, obviously the most important thing is getting the pesticide to the location where it needs to go, or product. I mean, it could be, maybe you're putting on fertilizer, maybe you're putting on some sort of liquid fertilizer or something. You have to really understand your drone. No drone behaves the same. So if I tell you how to fly a P100 Pro, that's not really going to apply to like a DJI T40 or a Helio or whatever drone that's on the market. Each one has its own type of application. Like for the P100 Pro, it's a rotary atomizer. It has a nozzle. They've been making rotary atomizers for the last 8 years or so, and those nozzles are very robust. You can actually change the droplet size on it. So say you have a little bit of a wind, you can just on the screen, you just tap and drop the speed of the rotary atomizer and change the micron size for the droplet. And those droplets are going to fall because they're bigger droplets. Now you have to consider, what kind of pesticide or insecticide, whatever that you're putting on, what that impact is going to be based on what type of product you're putting on. Some products, are systemic, and some, need leaf coverage. So depending on the adjuvants that you put in and those kinds of things, I mean, you could put in drift reduction agents or other things like that. You can put in a lot of different products, and there's some really great ones out there, I'll be honest. I can't get into the weeds too deep on this one, but I mean, there's a lot of information out there, and it's a really exciting field. The chemical companies are all racing to the market with some really cool products that I'm really excited to see in the next year. And then of course, spray regulations and other things are different for every country. So, I mean, do pay attention to your state or local or national rules when it comes to spraying pesticides and insecticides. In the US, we have one plan, but I mean, in other countries, it's far more open, and in other places it's not allowed yet. So do pay attention to what you're doing there. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I'm just saying there's a lot of ways to answer that question, and a lot of ways that you can do it. The key is just, again, understanding how your device performs and how to control its settings. With the P100 Pro, it's the click of a few buttons and you can change some stuff. Of course, with high winds and stuff like that, I mean, I'm not going to recommend spraying with a huge crosswind. I don't think that that's very wise decision. So anyways, good question.
Okay, the next question is for Mike. It's about reflective targets. Are the calibration images added directly to the project folder and are both TIFF and JPEG images needed? I guess it's a question for me, for Pix4D Fields. Reflective targets, yeah, for everybody, there are a few reflective targets you can use to, yeah, radiometrically improve the correction of multispectral imageries. Companies such as MicroSense, Centera, or Parrot offer those panels, and yeah, you just have to drop those pictures of those panels into the project folder. As this is only affects multispectral data, it's fine to just use the TIFF images because the RGB images are not radiometrically corrected from Pix4D Fields. As soon as the images are in the folder, Pix4D Fields will recognize it. It will also show you a little info text that the panels is detected, and then it will automatically apply the radiometric correction. Okay, so the next question is again question for Nathan, I think. That's from Travis. Is there any possibility that an agronomist-defined prescription map could be uploaded for use in spray drones? I guess, Nathan, you can answer that.
Yeah, it depends on your model again. For say you want to do, well, for an example here, like the P100 Pro, if you want to go out and fly that, what I would do is, use Pix4D Fields, of course, to map it, and then you can create prescription based off of what you see. Maybe you do an NDVI analysis, whatever, maybe you're using maybe an NDRE for maybe I want to target apply. I'm going to target apply some UAN or something like that. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to take, my imagery. I'm going to analyze it. Once I do that, I can find those lower performing areas in the field. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a nutrient deficiency. So as an agronomist, if I put my agronomy cap on here, you might go out and look at those areas, maybe use Pix4D Cloud to put that on my phone, or John Deere Operations Center, walk to those spots and I can see that image and take tissue samples, soil samples, confirm what the issue is. And then you really want to make an informed decision. Now you go back to your map or at the side of the field with your laptop, and you can go in and say, oh yeah, I think this is, this is actually a sulfur issue or something like that. And you might come in with a product specifically tailored for that area. And you could outline those areas with the new prescription tools that he showed you, that Julia showed earlier. Phenomenal. Just kind of basically point and click. I could draw my name in the field if I want to and create this prescription. Then it's a choice of what you want to use for equipment. You could use a tractor to apply it, like a large, highboy machine, or you could come in with the spray drone or the spreading drone, like I showed on my screens, and just apply those areas with a flat rate. You could do a variable rate. Variable rate is not available yet with the P100 Pro, but that is forthcoming. But you could use for a DJI T40 if you wanted to do that. So, I mean, there's a lot of different options out there. I mean, even Helio could be used the same. There's, again, other drone manufacturers out there that you could just export that shape file and apply the product to that area. So yes, I mean, you can totally do that. You can use all sorts of different types of equipment, but Pix4D Fields is the tool to use for this.
I couldn't have answered that better. Okay, the next question is from Travis. I guess it's a question for me. I hear that quite often. Is stand count available? If not, is there a target date for that information to be available? Yeah, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, I don't have a satisfying answer for you. So that's for sure something we want to offer to our users. But what I can say for sure, this will not hit this growing season. Yeah, because Pix4D Fields is used all over the world, and when we build tools, it should work like the magic tool, like everywhere on the world. So yeah, we are thinking hard behind the scenes how we can pull this off on a global scale. Yeah, I can only say stay tuned, but yeah, this year for sure not. Okay, so then another question for Nathan, and this question is from Fabian. He asks, for weed detection or variable rate, is it a must-have to fly with RTK on for the mapping part and also for the application part? Nathan, what do you think?
I mean, you could use just regular GPS. It's not necessary. It depends on what you're using as a piece of equipment, though. Like if I'm
if I'm going to go out with a fertilizer spreader that has like a 40-foot spreading, width, and I'm going to stay away from those obstacles, it's not a big deal. If you're using satellite imagery, it's not a huge deal. Like maybe, Julius showed you could use a satellite image to create a variable rate prescription. That's totally possible. You never even had to fly the field with a drone. It's going to be a lower resolution, and you can't use it on the early crop, when it's just developing and all you see is soil. Otherwise, you're just mapping soil. So you want to wait till the crop canopy, like wheat right now, is developing, and you could come in, create that variable rate prescription, and then put that in for that. But do you need RTK to apply it? Not necessarily, but again, it's always better to have a higher level of precision. It always improves the effectiveness. Now, when it comes to boundaries and that kind of stuff, and depending on how tight you want to get into some of those spaces, I really encourage it. But, and there's another question in here I saw about, using the same source, I think, and that's a great point. If you're going to use a CORS network to fly the field and map it, I would use a CORS network to fly and apply it, because you're using the same base station, the same correction points to use as a reference. And that's what's really important. If you use two different reference points, sometimes you can cause more damage than harm. So do pay attention to that. And try to work with those types of things. And if any of that doesn't make any sense, obviously follow up. We've provided our information, and we'd be glad to help you understand that better.
Okay, so the next question is from Zach. Maybe it's to both of us, Nathan. The question is, do you plan to support 3D flight operations planning for farmers with steep terrain to spray? So maybe from Pix4D's side. So we for sure monitoring that request. It's not the first time we heard about it, but of course our options are also a bit limited. So first we would need the drone manufacturers to open up those formats so it could deliver 3D flight path. So basically that's what we are waiting for. As soon as that happens, we will probably also offer this kind of feature. Maybe Nathan, you want to add a bit about the 3D flight capabilities of the drones in general?
Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah, work in progress, definitely something on the radar. The ability to import maps to XAG1, the ability to import 3D maps into XAG1 are forthcoming. The just a few, testing and things, it's not there right now, but still needs to be worked on. And I think there was another question in here that was kind of in line with that, is can't the XAG P100 Pro do the mapping? And the answer is yes. There's actually a real Terra module on the bottom, but I'm going to throw that in with a caveat that module is really only for smaller areas. It's not meant for a really large field. Anything over 10 acres is probably what I'm going to say. 15 acres. If you're doing a vineyard or something like that, it kind of has its place, but I'm not going to advise people to use it for anything more than that.
Okay, so the next question is from Gabe, and he asks, can you create shapefiles with Pix4D? And yeah, the answer is yes. The question is, what shapefiles do you mean? So we create shapefiles basically for field boundaries, for obstacles, if you want to upload that to your spray drone or to your field sprayer or tractor. But we also can create arbitrary shapefiles out of annotations when you do a field scouting run. So yeah, the answer is here we can create many different shapefiles. And I guess, yeah, one of the formats we output is what you need. So the answer here is yes. Okay, another really interesting question is from Johannes. And he asked, where do you see advantages of the drone approach to spot spraying versus online sensors mounted on sprayers? And yeah, I will give this question actually to Nathan, as he is an experienced farmer. So yeah, what is the advantage of the mapping approach, which is offline, and the online approach with sensors mounted directly to tractors, for example?
Yeah, excellent question. Cost is one. If you ever go to try to buy one of those sprayers, the cost is substantially higher and requires subscriptions and other things from many of the people. Now, there's a lot of different ones. I'm not going to say which one. Sorry, I had to cough there for a minute. But yeah, the question is really good on that sense. I would say probably you know, the difference is planning versus instantaneous type. You know, you go to the field, you can load up full product and you're going to use that spot sprayer for the weeds. But you never know how much product you're going to end up with, and you don't have an injection system fast enough. You might end up with a lot more extra product at the end of the day, where in this case, you have a plan when you go to the field, you know what you're going to spray and you know how you're going to do it. You have a chance to kind of look it over, make choices, test it, look at it. Now, is it going to pick up little tiny weeds? No, I'm not going to promise that unless you have a really good camera on the end of it. Again, it all matters on how good of a picture you have. But, you know, capturing the picture at the right time, yes, you can get it. You can clean up fields, like maybe you have an area of a breakout of weeds, maybe water hemp, whatever in your area, Palmer amaranth is getting through. That's a great opportunity to go in and clean them up. You know, minding how you apply those products, and you can load it into your regular, you know, sprayer. Honestly, I mean, he showed you how many different integrations there are. So yeah, you could go out and just spot spray those areas and do the same thing with a much less expensive boom at the end of the day. So yeah, there's some benefits. You just got to kind of weigh your costs and benefits.
Perfect. Nathan, here's a very interesting question for you, and that is actually something where you spend a lot of time researching, I know from our discussions. And the question is how you actually calculate the overlap between the different paths of the spray drone, because effect of wind and things like that, and drift.
Yeah, this is also another really good thing to highlight between the type of drone and how it sprays. I mean, high pressure systems versus low pressure and rotary atomizers. But what really tells the story is a spray test. So, you know, we use something called a swath gobbler. We sell those and train people how to use them. You basically fly over a piece of receipt paper that's on the ground with some blue dye, and you can do this for a big sprayer. You can do this for a drone. You can fly over that or drive over it and spray and test your spray pattern. And what that's going to do is it's going to go through and it's going to scan that paper roll, and it's going to record how many, you know, hits per square inch on that, and calculate a curve on that and give you a distribution of spray on the spray pattern. And when you do that, it helps you better understand the profile of your sprayer. So if you're flying 10 feet off the ground versus 15 feet off the ground versus 5 feet off the ground, you know, what does it look like? Bigger droplets, smaller droplets. There's a lot of different things you can do. And so this just helps confirm that and teach you. And a general rule of thumb is you do want to have overlap. You do want to overlap the tips of your spray pattern, just like on a spray boom. If you study a spray boom, any of them that are out there, the nozzles all overlap, because out on the outside fringes, they're not depositing as much material towards the center of the nozzle. So to get an even distribution of product, you overlap those, and you do the same thing with a spray drone. And many professionals in this area will tell you the same. You need to have overlap so that you're depositing less products, and that's where you get the striping from. Some people complain about striping in spray drone applications. That would be like you going out with your boom sprayer and raising or putting it really close to the ground, and you know, you're not getting that spray width out there. So, and you know, it's really comes down to the operator, how well they do and know their drone and know how to use it and manipulate it in the field. So good question.
Okay, there's another question from Jennifer, and she asks, Pix4D fields can be used to plan seed dispersal, for example, areas in the forest with exposed terrain caused by landslides or fire. So yeah, I like to answer that. Yes, Pix4D fields can be used to that, and I showed you the magic tool, and I think that is perfect for that use case. So you would just map your forest area, right? And if there's a forest fire or a landslide, it will be a clear change in structure. So you could use the magic tool to just identify all those areas which are affected by those nature phenomenons, and that you can roll over then in a prescription map, and there you could adjust the seed rate by zone, and then you can basically send that out to a spray drone or a spreading drone in that case, who can do the applications then in the forest. So I think we are now at the end of our time. Nathan, I don't know, do you want to take one final question?
I mean, there's a lot of great ones out there. We can follow up surely afterwards and try to answer some of these and post those along with the, you know, the questions or the information sent out after. I think maybe that's the best way to do this. There's a question about follow-up contact information from me. That's also in the webinar. In the slides, you can see that there, Travis asked that question, and you'll also obviously get the follow-up email. So again, pay attention to the follow-up email. There'll be a lot of information in that, and look forward to answering any more questions you have.
Great, that's how we will do it, and for sure we will try to answer all those questions we couldn't take now live. So thanks everybody for attending this webinar. I think it was a great session, and also thanks Nathan for joining us today. Thanks everybody.